What is up, you guys? The All Blacks have put the Brave Blossoms to the sword. 64 points to 19, a very impressive scoreline. But not everything about this game was impressive, as we're going to break down in this video. And most importantly, I'm going to explore who jumped the queue and might have forced their way into a pivotal position in the remaining Northern Tour, and who lost their way and might drop out of contention completely. Let's get to it, guys. Now look, Japan is currently ranked 14th in the world. Yes, they have a big-time coach in Eddie Jones, but we saw how well he did with the Wallabies. I don't have a lot of respect for this man. I don't think he operates with integrity, but putting my personal feelings aside, he has been a genius at times. He has masterminded 2 semi-final wins over the All Blacks that I will never forget, so I'll always be wary of Eddie. But with that said, the talent pool in Japan isn't quite as strong as it's been in the past, certainly not in 2015 when they rolled the Springboks. Regardless, I felt a little apprehensive about this game, and I did feel that the TAB's 30-point over in their prediction of an All Black victory was, you know, maybe not necessarily something we'd see. It was only 2022 when the All Blacks scraped home by 7 points against Japan. And it did look like there was a whiff of a boil over in the first 10 minutes. Japan came out like the proverbial house on fire, and in fact, they were the first team to score. Now, I wasn't too nervous because you have to remember, even though we felt the All Blacks definitely had the physical edge, that does not manifest immediately. When you have 2 teams coming at each other, they're both completely fresh, there's going to be parity. Any team in the top 20 in the world can kind of hold their own for 20 minutes. And then if there is a disparity in the power game, it's going to start to materialize later on. And you did feel the All Blacks wanted to beat the Japanese up front. You just look at the front row they selected with Tamaiti Williams, Tuipulotu there. You felt, hey, they are going to bring the heat at scrum time. But the most surprising thing about this game is that Japan actually held their own very well at the set piece. That was not where the All Blacks strangled them to rack up this big scoreline. In fact, if you take a look here, scrum win, okay, the All Blacks won 100% of their scrums. 89%, not the worst for Japan. I think some people felt that with the might of this All Black pack, you could be seeing the Japanese conceding tight heads. That didn't really happen. They definitely held their own. And not only that, they shaded us at the line out. We won 87% on our own throw. They won 92%. So it was not the set piece where the All Blacks gained ascendancy. However, the extra beef in our pack did show up in our repeated rolling mauls and in our pick and go. And it was around the 25-minute mark where the Japanese just started falling off tackles, where our maul became very penetrative and laid a good platform for attack. And you saw multiple try scorers for the All Blacks. Look, there were so many tries here, I'm not going to go through them all, but you saw the tight 5 dotting down. You saw Patrick Tuipulotu, who was definitely the man of the match for the All Blacks, earning his first start as a captain, and boy, did he make a good fist of it. He scored out wide. Tamaiti Williams scored off a rolling maul. Even big Tuipulotu dotted down. So you did see the All Blacks' power game and their sheer size in the tight 5 come into play. It just didn't quite show up in the scrums the way that we thought it might. The All Blacks were absolutely sublime from minutes 20 to 40. But before that, it was looking scary. Warner Dearns, who is a Kiwi-born player, plays lock for the Brave Blossoms, he scored the most beautiful try, kicked ahead from a loose ball, and man, did he show athleticism. Mowed at about 50 meters to dot down. The Japanese were ahead in the 20th minute, and you did get the feeling, uh-oh, this could be a big banana peel. The All Blacks need to be careful here. But that try was actually rolled back. And funnily enough, you know, from a moment of thinking, oh my God, Japan's going to be in this game to the bitter end, it immediately transformed. The momentum totally swung New Zealand's way. And really, that was actually the last meaningful act from Japan in terms of coming close to the All Blacks or even being competitive. Because let's make no mistake about it, they were not consistent the whole game, but for about 15 or 20 minutes there, the All Blacks blew them away in the second quarter. We can't sugarcoat it. The power game was too much. The line breaks came easily. And let's take a look at those. 15 to 8. You saw a lot of them in that second quarter. And you saw Japan slipping off tackles. Ultimately, the ABs completed 89% of their tackles. Well, 76% for the Japanese. Now, you might not think that that's a huge disparity, but the All Blacks had clinical finishing in that first half. So pretty much any time they had a clean break, it turned into points. And instrumental in that for me was Billy Proctor at center. We were very interested to see how he'd go. Yes, he had a little bit of an error early on, but in general, his distribution was first class. Long balls, short balls. This guy's the total package. The only question is, can he replicate that against a rush defense like England, Ireland, South Africa? We've seen 2 good outings from him now. Fiji earlier this year in San Diego in the United States, and now Yokohama, Japan, another really solid outing at center. And in terms of the eye test, it does look like his distribution game is sharper than Rieko Ioane's. Can he do it against a rush defense? I think we need to find out on this tour. I would love to see him take on one of the heavyweight teams. So that would be my request for Razor Robertson. But to be honest, ALB and Proctor, solid. Don't quite think they did enough to make people think, let's get Geordie Barrett and Rieko out of there. I think the incumbents are going to be starting against England next week. In fact, I'd bet you $100 on it. So we got to halftime. The All Blacks had really opened them up in the second corner. 43-12. Game over. Game over. I mean, let's be honest. That is too big a hole for a team like Japan. As talented as they are on attack, that's too big a hole for them to get out of. And yet the All Blacks kind of gave them every opportunity they could. Forget the All Blacks' now famous fourth quarter fade that we've seen in 2024. This was a third quarter fade. Yes, the All Blacks said, let's just get our decline out of the way early. Let's start it now. And do you know what? They did not score from minutes 44 to 76. That is alarming. And really, they look like a different team. The width of the Roygaard pass, the width of the Damian McKenzie pass were just beautiful in the first half. They really opened up the Japanese, but now the attack was struggling. It was clunky. There were turnovers. There were handling errors. This was not vintage stuff. This was pretty forgettable stuff, to be honest with you. And it probably didn't help that in the 50th minute, Razor did a bomb squad type move. He emptied out his bench and brought on the youth. And frankly, the All Blacks looked unsettled out there, as you'd expect. A lot of these guys have not played a lot of rugby. They do not have a lot of test caps. So it was exciting on one hand, but it wasn't too pretty to watch. Someone who did not have a good game was the backup hooker, George Bell. The line-out struggled with him on there, and he's going to have to tighten up his game if he wants to continue to be the third-choice hooker for New Zealand. I'm looking at this front row today, and I'm thinking, imagine if you put Samisoni Takiaho in there next to Pasilio Tosi and Tamaini Williams. That would be the biggest front row in New Zealand history. That got my mouth watering a bit, imagining them packing down against France or the Springboks. George Bell, a little bit in danger after this game, I think. Someone else in a little bit of danger would be Sevu Reece. Yes, when he gets going, he has magical dancing feet, but sometimes he goes backwards before he goes forward. Sometimes he plays quite lateral. And against a team with defense less stringent than those that the All Blacks are about to face, he finds a way through. He beats his man. He beats several men. I just wonder about him against a team with really strong rush D. And conversely, kind of in a head-to-head shootout, I think, to determine who is going to partner Caleb Clark, who will be starting at 11 next week against England. I think Mark Telea edged Sevu Reece today. And look, these wingers are going to probably have to swap between 11 and 14. They're going to have to be versatile. I would imagine that you're going to put Mark Telea at 14 with Jordan at fullback based on what we saw today, because Telea was back to his best. He did get some good opportunities, but he shone when the ball came his way. He showed how elusive he is. He showed what an athlete he is. So I was pleased for him because his stock has dropped this year, but I still think he is a fine winger. And, I think that is an exciting back three. Caleb Clark, Jordan, Telea. I still worry a little bit about Telea under the high ball and his defense, but the upside on attack, very clear to see today. A player who came off the bench today and made an impact was David Havili. Not necessarily the kind of impact you want to see. There was a moment that really summed him up as a player. He got the ball. The All Blacks are hot on attack. He looked to his left. A moment of remarkable vision and clarity. He saw his man in space, no one around him. And Havili put in a perfect crossfield kick that bounced perfectly into the vicinity of his man. The problem was that his man was the touch judge, Nick Berry. There wasn't an All Black in sight. what the hell happened here? Definitely a brain explosion from David Havili. And I was just thinking, wow, looking forward to reading my comments on this channel because I feel like he's going to get roasted. Look, Havili's an okay player, but you want to talk about people breaking in to that All Blacks 23 today? David Havili did not do that. Peter Luckeye may have. He did not get many chances on attack. It's his attack that catches the eye, but he did rack up 11 tackles, so that was good to see. So look, the All Blacks were really in the abyss, even though it was kind of fun to see these new players being blooded in. But ultimately, Ruben Love, who did come on in the unfamiliar position of wing, they kept Perifetta at the back. He scored a brace towards the end, heads up, opportunistic play, great pace, and it was just awesome to see the All Blacks coming around, giving him a big hug at full time when he scored, welcoming him into the fold. I think this kid has a bright future. Not the biggest, but you could say that about Aaron Smith, George Gregan, even Damian McKenzie, not the biggest. And listen, D-Mac is controversial as our starting 10. I don't really think there's anyone in New Zealand who doesn't think Damian McKenzie should be in the squad, though, at least coming off the bench. So it ain't all about size in international rugby. And Ruben Love, a lot of talent in a more compact package, and we got a little glimpse of that today with his nice finishing. So yeah, against the Cherry Blossoms, the All Blacks put a cherry on top. Final score looks great, and again, let's give the All Blacks credit where it's due. A couple years back, it was 38-31 against Japan. So 64-19, much more healthy from a New Zealand perspective. And there are some bright spots to discuss. Let's talk about Tuipulotu's captaincy again. Fantastic. You feel that he's absolutely got to be in the squad. Are we going to see Tupovai and Patrick Tuipulotu starting as the locks with Scott Barrett at 6? Never say never. Speaking of sixes, Samipeni Finau had a good return to form today. That will boost his confidence a lot. Not only did he get over for a try, showed some really nifty footwork, but he led the All Blacks for tackles, and that's what we've wanted to see. He did flatten a few players. We saw that crunching defense that we've really only seen at Super Rugby level, and as some of you point out, generally against backs, but he did put in a few stinging hits today. That was good to see, because this guy is not the finished article. However, there is talent there. There is upside. And let's not forget, he was the best number 6 in Super Rugby on form, good enough to start those opening games of the year against England. I'm not sure that he has fought his way back into the starting lineup today, but I think he's put his name into contention, certainly with the 3 loose forward injuries we've had. So I'll be very curious to see how he features on the rest of this tour. Wallace Satidi at 8, looked terrific, really just continued his good form at 6. And look, Razor may be onto something here. Satidi seems to be making an impact no matter where you pick him. So don't be surprised next week if we go back to Satidi at 6, Sam Cane at 7, because Cane was very good today, and Ardie Savea at 8. Probably the most likely outcome in terms of Razor's selections against England coming up. For me, Cam Roigard absolutely earned a bench spot. Of course, he was a bit rusty to start with. The guy has missed 6 months of rugby. He's coming off 2 games of NPC rugby. He looked really good, but look, it's a jump up to international rugby, even against a team outside the top 10 like Japan. For me, Roigard grew into the game, he scored a nice try, and he really just showed he has a bullet pass. Reminiscent of Aaron Smith. He gets great width on his pass, and at times that did help the All Blacks throttle up their attack. I think Roigard has to be there. You're probably going to start Cortez Ratama. Let's have Roigard on the bench. And let's put TJ Perinara to the side. He is the break glass in case of emergency option. I think the future is now. Ratama and Roigard. From my mouth to God's ears. We'll see. Let me know who gained a spot or lost a spot in the All Blacks Ideal 23. I'll be reading all your comments. Can't wait. And guys, I'll see you for another one next week as we look forward to the ominous English game at Twickenham. Yikes. This is the big time now. Come on, the All Blacks. You got this. See you soon, guys. Bye.